how y'all doing? Yo, it's football weekend, baby. How about some college football, guys? We're going over all the games from week 3 in college football. We missed y'all last week, but we wanted to make sure I didn't miss y'all this week, especially before NFL football games kick off on this NFL Sunday. Hope y'all are having a great weekend so far, enjoying all the football that we've been seeing. Wow, a lot of crazy football happening in college football right now. The 2024 season is on fire right now with a lot of different storylines and a lot of different teams out there looking like they're going to be really good, man, right? Let's go, man. It's football season. Welcome to Tim Reynolds Show. Now, make sure you guys hit that like button, hit that subscribe button for more NFL content right here on Tim Reynolds Show, as I'm going to keep you guys up to date on all the big news happening, not only in college football, but also the NFL and any big news happening really around sports in general. We'll be make sure to bring you guys and break that news for you right here on Tim Reynolds Show. And don't forget to also check out my NASCAR reviews for every single race. We will do a NASCAR review for that. And also make sure you check out my WWE show reviews for Monday Night Raw and for Friday Night SmackDown and for all the premium live events that happen with the WWE as well. So make sure you guys check out Tim Reynolds Show, all right? Let's go. All right, guys, so up first on our college football review for week 3, we're looking at a big game on Thursday night where we've seen Northwestern State going up against South Alabama. Now, maybe you guys might think, well, Tim, that doesn't sound like a big game, right, with a lot of big-time schools, right? Well, guess what? There was 87 points scored by one team in this game. That's right. South Alabama scores 87, and the final score was 87-10 in that matchup. What a huge game for the South Alabama there on Thursday night. Arizona State also had a close-up matchup against Texas State as they ended up winning that game 31-28 on Thursday night for the Arizona State Sun Devils as they moved to 3-0 on the season. And then, guys, going to the next matchup for Friday night, we see them battle of two ranked teams in the NCAA as we see college football 24 season, University of Arizona, number 20 Wildcats taking on the Wildcats of Kansas State, who are ranked number 14. And Kansas State was able to handle the Arizona Wildcats very easily in this one as Kansas State gets the victory 31-7 over the 20 ranked Arizona team. And number 14 Kansas State moves on to 3-0 on the season after their quarterback, Johnson, had 17 carries for 110 yards in this game. They were really able to control the game all throughout. So really, really good win for the ranked Kansas State Wildcats there. And then the final game for Friday night, we've seen UNLV taking on the Kansas Jayhawks. Really, really close game in this one, but UNLV was able to pull out the victory as they win 23-20 on Friday night. Kansas is not looking so good after starting out the season ranked. Kansas is now 1-2 on the season. And then, guys, moving on to one of our first games on Saturday, my Florida Gators taking on the Texas A&M Aggies. Now, early on, we've seen that the Texas A&M starting quarterback was actually ruled out of this game. So because he was ruled out, that means that the Florida Gators had to face the backup. And, man, did he really ball out. He was able to actually help these guys out in the running game, really able to control the clock for them. And the Gators couldn't really get anything going on offense, and the defense just looked like they couldn't keep up, as the Gators end up losing this one 33-20 against the Texas A&M Aggies. And then moving on to the next one, guys, we got the South Florida Bulls taking on the Southern Miss. And, man, we see the Bulls really take care of this game and this matchup as they were able to get the victory 49-24 in this Week 3 matchup. We see USF starting quarterback Brown had 193 yards through passing through the game for 2 touchdowns, and their running back Joyner had 10 carries for 117 yards and 2 touchdowns in this game. And then, guys, moving on to the next one was probably most exciting game of the weekend as the UCF Knights took on the TCU Horned Frogs. And, man, Texas Christian University really put up a good fight going up 14-0 in the first quarter on the Knights. But we would see the Knights fight back in this one and actually had one of their biggest comebacks in school history as they were able to come back and win this game 35-34 at the end to defeat the Texas Christian University Horned Frogs. What a game. Probably the closest game of the whole entire weekend as we see the Texas Christian University starting cornerback had over 400 yards passing in this one with 4 touchdowns, but that would not be enough, as we would see the UCF use their powerful running back Harvey, as he had 29 carries for 180 yards and 2 touchdowns in this game, as the UCF Knights were able to pull off the victory 35-34. And then, guys, next one was a really, really close matchup to a surprise score by very many of the people watching this game, as we see the number 1 ranked team in the country, the University of Georgia Bulldogs, taking on the University of Kentucky Wildcats. And now the Kentucky Wildcats lost last week to South Carolina in a tough loss for them, but now they face the number 1 ranked team in the country, and man, did they show up. The defense was shutting down this Georgia Bulldogs offense all game long. The defense only gave up 1 touchdown in the whole game. But unfortunately, the University of Kentucky Wildcats offense could not get anything going consistently whatsoever in this game, as the Georgia Bulldogs are able to survive and win this game 13-12 after the University of Kentucky could only get field goals in this game. Tough loss for the Kentucky Wildcats, but how about a pretty good win for the Georgia Bulldogs, who showed, hey, we can handle some adversity and try to get these close victories. We can definitely get those there in the SEC. SEC is always tough. It doesn't matter who you face. Kentucky really brought it to the Georgia Bulldogs in this game, and now Georgia Bulldogs have to watch out, because their schedule's only going to get tougher as we start seeing them really get into the meat of their schedule, where we're going to find out if this Georgia Bulldogs team is actually the top-ranked team in the country. But watch out, because now there's reports, because of this close game against Kentucky, that the University of Texas could leapfrog the Georgia Bulldogs to be the number 1 team in the country coming up. And then we're getting on to those Texas Longhorns, man. The number 2 ranked team in the country took on UTSA Roadrunners there. And this was a home game there for the University of Texas, and they were able to dominate. Even though starting quarterback Quentin Ewers went out with this game with an injury and did not return, we would see Archie Manning come in and just dominate this matchup, as we would see a 56-7 victory in this game for the Texas Longhorns, who could possibly go to being the number 1 team in the country after this game. Man, really, really good matchup there. Really, really good victory there for the Texas Longhorns. Moving on to the next matchup, guys, we have the number 4 ranked team in the country, the University of Alabama, taking on the University of Wisconsin. And this game was not close at all, guys, as we see Jalen Milroe really ball out in this game, threw for 196 yards and 3 touchdowns, but also rushed for 75 yards and 2 TDs in this game to give a total of 5 touchdowns in this game. And Alabama wins this game easily, 42-10 over the Wisconsin Honey Badgers. And in the next game, guys, for the weekend, we see the number 5th ranked team in the country, the Ole Miss Rebels, taking on Wake Forest. And this one wasn't close either, folks. After 20 points scored in the first quarter to open up this game, Ole Miss would not give up the lead, as they would end up winning 40-6 in this one, as their quarterback and Heisman hopeful Jay Dart actually had a really, really good game in this one, throwing for 377 yards and 2 touchdowns in this game, balling out for the Ole Miss Rebels as they get the victory. And then moving on to the next one, which was a very, very close matchup of 2 highly ranked teams, as we see the number 24 ranked team, Boston College, taking on the number 6th ranked team, the Missouri Tigers. And man, this was a really, really close game throughout, and Boston College had the lead for most of the game, but we would see the Missouri Tigers come back in the second half, and they were able to really pull away in this one after getting the lead just before halftime, and they were able to win this game 27-21 over Boston College. Tough loss for them after Boston College was able to defeat the Florida State Noles last week. Now they get their first loss of the season, and Missouri Tigers stay undefeated on the season. Now 3-0 after this win, 27-21 over Boston College. Next game, we see Kent State taking on the number 7th ranked team in the country, the Tennessee Volunteers. And Tennessee, man, watch out for the Tennessee Volunteers, guys. This team looks dangerous as hell, scoring 37 points in the first quarter, and then to top that all off, they scored 28 points in the second quarter. I mean, guys, they only scored 6 more points the rest of the game. They scored over 60 points in the first half. That is crazy. I don't care what team you're facing in college football. That is nuts. As the Tennessee Volunteers win this one easily, 71-0. What a blowout victory for the Tennessee Volunteers. They're looking dangerous in the SEC this year. See, we got some comments in the chat. Thank you, Kimberly Atkins, for saying hi. Welcome to the chat. And hi from Japan. Thank you, guys, checking out from Japan. We got 9 people in the chat. Let's go, guys. Welcome to Tim Reynolds Show. We're reviewing week 3 of college football. We didn't get to you guys last week, so I had to make sure to get on today before the NFL slate kicks off here soon. And we're already halfway through, guys. Thanks for checking out the show and the channel. Make sure you guys hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. So going over the next matchup, guys, we had the 9th ranked team in the country, the Oregon Ducks, taking on Oregon State Beavers. And man, this one looked like it was going to be close at the beginning, but then we would see the Oregon Ducks really start pulling away in the second half as they end up winning this game 49-14, especially after scoring 17 points in the fourth quarter, really putting their stamp on this rivalry game as they were able to win this game over Oregon State. And now Oregon stays undefeated after the first 2 weeks looking a little bit slow. Now this Oregon Ducks offense looks like it's really raring to go, scoring 49 points against a tough Oregon State team in that rivalry game. And then next up, guys, we got the number 10th ranked team in the country, the University of the Miami Hurricanes, taking on Ball State. And man, Ball State, sorry you ran into this powerhouse because the Miami Hurricanes handled business really, really well in this one as they get the victory 62-0 in this week 3 matchup after we see quarterback Cam Ward throw for 346 yards and 5 touchdowns. Man, Cam Ward is definitely looking like a Heisman candidate. Looking forward to that, to see how this Miami Hurricanes really competes as they go to 3-0 on the season. And then, guys, moving on to our next matchup, we see the University of Utah Utes taking on Utah State, another rivalry game early on in the season. But man, I was a little surprised to see Cam Rising was not in this game. As we see early on, the Utah Utes had to really fight in this matchup, but they get the victory pretty easily, 38-21 over Utah State in that rivalry game. And then the quarterback there for the Utah Utes, Wilson, threw for 239 yards and 3 touchdowns in this game. Hope Cam Rising's doing well and is able to come back sometime this season for the Utah Utes, the number 12th ranked team in the country. And then moving on to our next matchup, guys, we have the number 13th ranked team in the country, the Oklahoma State Cowboys, taking on Tulsa. And Tulsa is always a tough team, it seems like, for any of these schools, but the Oklahoma State Cowboys were able to really pull away and handle this team very, very easily. As starting quarterback Bowman was able to get 396 yards passing and 5 touchdowns through the air to really help this Cowboys offense dominate a Tulsa team as they get the victory 45-10 in week 3 of the 2024 college football season. And then moving on to the next one, another tough game as Tulane, who always faces everybody tough, would take on the University of Oklahoma, the 15th ranked team in the country. But Oklahoma would get the victory in this one pretty easily, controlling the ball like they wanted to, with their quarterback having 14 carries for 97 yards and 2 touchdowns in this game, along with 169 yards passing through the air and 1 passing touchdown, as Oklahoma is able to get the victory pretty easily, 34-19 over Tulsa, and they moved to 3-0 on the season. And then, guys, moving to our next close matchup of the game, this was where college game day was for Saturday, as we have the number 16th ranked team in the country, the LSU Tigers, taking on the South Carolina Gamecocks. And man, what a close game in this one at the very, very end. After it looked like the Gamecocks were going to pull away, they had an injury to their starting quarterback who kind of rolled up his ankle, and this just kind of slowed all the momentum for the South Carolina Gamecocks offense as they were not able to keep the momentum going throughout the game. So LSU just crawls their way back, and they were able to get the victory in this one 36-33. And the South Carolina Gamecocks, you got to give them credit. They had a chance to tie the game up at the very end on a 49-yard field goal and just weren't able to convert and get that field goal. So tough loss there for the South Carolina team. And then moving on to our next matchup, guys, we see Arkansas State taking on the number 17th ranked team in the country, the University of Michigan Wolverines. And the Wolverines are looking to bounce back after a tough loss last week to the University of Texas, a highly ranked team in the country, and they would get shit done in this matchup. That's right. Even though their starting quarterback had 3 interceptions in this one, we would still see them control the ball very, very well in the running game as they were able to get the victory over Arkansas State 28-18 in this matchup to move to 2-1 on the season. And then moving on to our next game, guys, we have number 18th ranked team in the country, the University of Notre Dame, taking on the University of Purdue. These teams always tend to face off against each other's tough. Always a little bit of a rivalry game when the Notre Dame faces off against Purdue. But Notre Dame's the one that needs to bounce back because this team did not do good last week after getting upset by Northern Illinois University Huskies as they got the victory over Notre Dame for their biggest win in their school's history. As Notre Dame was ranked number 5 in the country, and we can see they dropped way down in the rankings after that loss. But man, what a bounce back for the Notre Dame team. This offense finally found their rhythm and was able to score points all over this Purdue defense, getting the victory 66-7. Whew, what a good bounce back game for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. All right, guys, we got another comment here. Can you say happy birthday to my dad, Eric Shin? He loves your lives. Thank you, McVeigh. Well, happy birthday to your dad, Eric Shin. Thank you for checking out the channel. Make sure you guys hit that like button. Leave any comments if you guys have any questions about the college football weekend so far. And happy birthday, Eric Shin. All right, guys, going on to the next one. We got the Northern Iowa taking on the number 23 ranked team in the country, the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Now, after the Cornhuskers had a very impressive win over a Colorado team led by head coach Deion Sanders last week, we would see them come into this matchup with all the momentum, and they would not slow down as they were able to get the victory in this one 34-3 over Northern Iowa. As we seen, their starting quarterback Raiola had 247 yards and 2 touchdowns in this game for the Nebraska Cornhuskers as they were able to get the big victory. And then moving on to the next one, guys, we got the Central Michigan taking on the University of Illinois, and Illinois was able to really handle the Chippewas very easily in this particular matchup as they win 30-9 in this game, as we see them really ball out with wide receiver Bryant having 7 catches for 102 yards and 2 touchdowns in this game. A really, really good passing attack there for the Fighting Illini. And the next matchup is probably the biggest upset of the weekend, folks. I've been waiting to get to this one as the Memphis Tigers, the University of Memphis, takes on Florida State University. And oh boy, Florida State fans have been feeling it this year. They lose opening weekend in Ireland to Georgia Tech. Then they lose last week in their first home game against Boston College in the conference. Now 0-2 in the ACC. They hopefully get this opponent here for the American Athletic Conference in Michigan University, which is actually Mike Norvell's former university that he used to coach at before he got hired by the Florida State Seminoles. But guess what? Florida State Seminoles could not even score 20 points in this game, folks, as the Michigan Tigers were able to get the victory over the Florida State Seminoles 20-12 in this matchup. And now the Florida State Seminoles fall to 0-3 for the second time since 2020. And not only that, I can't remember the last time that a team ranked in the top 10 in the preseason poll dropped 3 straight games to open up the season. This is a tough way to start the season for Florida State Seminoles fans. Tough break. Let's see, we got some more comments here. And all has a weak coaching staff with no culture and just a mess. Florida is a joke. Hey, listen, I understand there, darling. Me being a Florida Gator fan, it has been tough to watch my Gators so far this year. I would have thought the defense would have played a little bit tougher, but after this game against the Texas A&M Aggies, there are already reports coming out for the Florida Gators faithful that apparently they're trying to get boosters to cover Mr. Billy Napier's buyout coming up soon, which, hey, if you guys haven't heard, I'm sure that's breaking news to a lot of people out there, but looks like the University of Florida could be trying to get rid of or move on from head coach Billy Napier sooner rather than later, as reports have boosters looking to hopefully pay his buyout on his contract. And we'll just have to see how the season plays out, because right now it is not looking good for Billy Napier and the Florida Gators, but it's also not looking good for this Florida State team, man, as Mike Norvell is on the hot seat, and probably the hottest hot seat throughout the whole NCAA football right now. Why? Man, you can't lose to your former university, man. This is a game you're supposed to win. Hey, all respect to the Memphis Tigers, man. The University of Memphis has a really good football program that's really been getting better over the last 5 or 6 years or so, and Mike Norvell's a part of that. But man, you've got to win this game. Now, what do the Florida State Seminoles do going forward? That's really the question to ask, because there's not much else you can really see them doing to improve this team, and their schedule doesn't get any easier for them going forward. So best of luck to the Noles there. but not really. Moving on to the next one, guys. We got the Louisiana Tech Bulldogs taking on NC State Wolfpack. Now, Wolfpack came in after a beat down in week 2 against the Tennessee Volunteers, who we talked about earlier in this video. The Tennessee Volunteers look like one of them teams who are legitimate competitors for a national championship, especially in the SEC conference. Watch out for them. But they blew out this NC State Wolfpack team last week, putting a bunch of points on them, and the Wolfpack couldn't get anything going as far as their points scored on offense. So they look to bounce back in this game, which they were able to do as they get the victory in this one over Louisiana Tech, 30-20 in this game. And we've seen their running back had 9 carries for 63 yards and a touchdown as the North Carolina State was trying to really get that offense back and running once again. And then, guys, going on to our next matchup as we have the Cincinnati Bearcats taking on the Miami of Ohio. And, man, we would see the Bearcats really get the victory in this one as they scored 10 points in the final quarter to really get the lead, to pull away 27-16 to get the victory over Miami of Ohio. And what a good matchup. And we see their running back had 21 carries for 126 yards and a touchdown as Kinger, running back for the Cincinnati Bearcats, had a very, very good game. Moving on to the next one, guys, to talk about here, we got North Texas taking on Texas Tech, and Texas Tech was able to really handle this one after scoring 35 points in just the second quarter, but scoring over 50 points in the first half of this game. They win 66-21 in this particular matchup. Next one, guys, we got UMass taking on the University of Buffalo, as Buffalo was able to handle UMass very, very well, 34-3 in this particular matchup. Coastal Carolina, undefeated on the season, takes on Temple, who has not won a game yet this season, and that would still be the case at the end of this one, as the Temple Fighting Owls would keep it close, but it wasn't close enough, as Coastal Carolina Chippewas would get the victory in this one, 28-20 over the University of Temple. Going on to our next game, guys, we got Michigan State taking on Fairview A&M. And, of course, Michigan State was able to handle this team very, very easily as they win 40-0 at home to get their 3rd victory of the season to move on to 3-0 on the year. Next, we have the University of Nevada taking on Minnesota University. And Minnesota gets the victory in this one, blowing out Nevada, shutting them out 27-0 as the Minnesota Golden Gophers get the victory in this one. They had a really good game by their starting running back, Taylor, who had 11 carries for 124 yards and 2 touchdowns in this game for Minnesota. Moving on to the next one, a big rivalry game in the weekend of college football here in week 3 of 2024 season. And we see Washington State taking on the University of Washington in what they call the Apple Cup. And what a huge game in this one, as we would see Washington State get the upset victory over the Washington Huskies as they win 24-19 and win the Apple Cup in this rivalry game early on in the season. Now, normally these games are near the end, but the schedule makers have kind of twisted things up a little bit, so we have more rivalry games earlier in the season, and this was a great one to watch. Very, very close game throughout. Even both teams stepped up in the fourth quarter with defenses shutting out both offenses in the fourth quarter. But like I said, the Washington State was able to get the win over the Washington Huskies there, 24-19 in that matchup. Next up is Georgia Tech taking on VMI, and they were able to get the victory in that one, 59-7, a dominate win there for Georgia Tech as they bounced back after losing to Boston College last week, or I should say after losing last week to Syracuse. The next matchup, we had the University of West Virginia taking on the University of Pittsburgh. A really, really close game in this one, back and forth in a fiery fourth quarter, as we would see a combined 24 points scored in the fourth quarter of this matchup, but it would not be enough for the West Virginia Mountaineers to overcome as they lose this one to go to 1-2 on the season, as Pittsburgh gets the victory in this one, 38-34, as the Panthers really dominate in this one with their quarterback having 301 yards and 3 touchdowns in this particular matchup. All right, guys, going throughout the weekend slate, we got Morgan State taking on the University of Ohio, and Ohio Bobcats were able to get the victory in that one, 21-6 in that matchup. Troy, who has not been able to win a game all year long, was taking on the University of Iowa, who's looking to bounce back after losing their rivalry game last week to Iowa State. They get the victory in this one as the University of Iowa is able to score 38 points and get the victory 38-21 over the University of Troy. Pretty dang good game there for Iowa as the running back Johnson was able to have 25 carries for 173 yards and 2 touchdowns in this matchup. All right, going on to our next one, guys. We got Appalachian State taking on Eastern Carolina, and a really, really close game in this one as it was exciting throughout this game as we see Appalachian State gets the victory over East Carolina 21-19, a very, very close game after the East Carolina was able to get a field goal in the fourth quarter but was not able to score any more points than that as Appalachian State gets the victory in this one. Their quarterback, Algeier, had 424 yards passing through the air with 2 touchdowns to help his team win. Moving on to the next one, guys, with UAB, led by former Tampa Bay quarterback Trent Dilford as their head coach, taking on the University of Arkansas. And we see a really, really good matchup in this one as we would see Arkansas pull away and win the victory 37-27 over UAB. A really, really good victory here for the Arkansas Razorbacks as they move to 2-1 on the year. And then we go to the University of UConn Huskies taking on the Duke Blue Devils. Another close game in this one as the Huskies weren't able to score any points in the fourth quarter as the Duke Blue Devils scored 9 points in the fourth quarter to pull away and get the victory 26-21 in this particular matchup. We see Murphy, the quarterback there for the Blue Devils, is doing really good leading this team with 267 yards passing through the air with 3 touchdowns, and they were also able to run the ball really good with the running back Thomas able to get 22 carries for 122 yards in this matchup. We see we got another comment here from Josh Allen. What's your favorite food? Well, man, my favorite food personally has got to be spaghetti or subs. I mean, you can go with pizza maybe if you want to as well, but barbecue is all right up there. I guess you couldn't really call it a favorite, if you will, but hey, I got to go as far as my favorite foods, got to go with barbecue or subs in that regard. All right, guys, moving on to our next one here. We got North Carolina Central taking on North Carolina Tar Heels, and we see the Tar Heels really handle this subpar team here, 45-10, getting the victory after scoring 28 points in the fourth quarter to pull away in this one. And their running back Hampton had himself a hell of a day. 25 carries for 210 yards and 3 touchdowns on the day. That's big for the North Carolina Tar Heels, guys. And then moving on to our next matchup, we have Old Dominion, who has not been able to win a game all year. They were taking on Virginia Tech Hokies, and the Hokies were looking to go ahead and make a statement in this game, which they would do as they get the victory in this one, 37-17, really balling out. As far as their quarterback, man, he had a really good game, 176 yards passing through the air, 1 touchdown, but also 12 carries for 117 yards and a touchdown on the ground in that one. Next matchup, we have UTEP taking on the University of Liberty. UTEP was not able to win a game all season long, and that will continue in this game as Liberty stays undefeated, winning this game 28-10 with the big victory. Moving on to our next one, guys. South Carolina State taking on Georgia Southern in this one as Georgia Southern was able to pull away, winning 42-14 in this matchup. A big, big win for that program. And the next time we got Colgate, who has not been able to win a game yet this year, taking on Akron, who's looking to get their first win, and they would get that in this one as Colgate has not won a game yet as they lose this one 20-31 over the Akron Yips. Akron goes ahead and bounces back, gets their first win of the year, scoring 31 points in this one. Their quarterback, Finley, had 358 yards passing through the air with 4 touchdowns to help them get their first victory of the year. The next one is Gardner-Webb, who has not won a game yet this season, and they would keep it close against the Charlotte 49ers, but it would not be enough as the 49ers get the victory in this one after scoring 21 points in the fourth quarter to come back and win 27-26 and help them really propel them to this victory there. And the next matchup, we got Bartholomew Cookman taking on Western Michigan, and Western Michigan was able to get their first victory of the year as Cookman remains without a victory yet this season as they go down 31-59. Western Michigan putting up 59 points on this Cookman team. What a matchup. Next, we had an upset of the weekend. Man, this was definitely a big surprise to a lot of the bettors, I think, as Georgia State at home taking on the University of Vanderbilt. Now, Vanderbilt had a really good victory earlier in the season against Virginia Tech, which looks like maybe this Vanderbilt team was going to get turned around a little bit. But guys, even after scoring 22 points in the fourth quarter, that would not be enough as Vanderbilt loses this matchup 32-36 over Georgia State, who's able to get the big upset win in week 3 of the college football season. Wow. And then, guys, moving on to our next game, we have Jacksonville State taking on Eastern Michigan, and a close game in this one as the Eastern Michigan Eagles were able to get the victory in this one 37-34, a really, really close matchup in this particular game. And then we have Kennesaw State taking on San Jose State, as San Jose State was able to pull away after scoring 17 points in the second quarter. They would not relinquish the lead for the rest of the game, as they were able to win this one 31-10 over Kennesaw State. Congratulations to San Jose State on that victory to move to 3-0 on the year. Western Kentucky, they would take on Middle Tennessee in our next matchup, as Western Kentucky came out firing, scoring 14 points in the first quarter and then 21 points to open up the second half, as they were able to get the victory in this one 49-21 over Middle Tennessee. Congratulations to Western Kentucky as they bounce back to get a victory. And then the next matchup, guys, we had the University of Hawaii taking on Sam Houston University, and Sam Houston was able to take care of the Rainbow Warriors as they get the victory 31-13 in their home matchup here, as they were able to really dominate in this one with their running back, Ducker, able to get 15 carries for 148 yards in this matchup to help propel them to the victory. The next one was the University of New Mexico taking on Auburn University, and of course Auburn was able to pull away in this one. 45-19 would be the final score after their running back for Auburn, Hunter, had 20 carries for 152 yards and a touchdown to help the Auburn Tigers get the victory in this one in week 3. Moving on to our next matchup was another big upset, as the University of Toledo was taking on Mississippi State. Now, Mississippi State had paid Toledo over $1.5 million to play this game for them, but Toledo would take that money and run as they win this one over Mississippi State Bulldogs 41-17, pretty handily. A tough loss here for the Mississippi State Bulldogs team, who should have probably won this matchup on paper, but Toledo comes out and gets the upset win. All right, guys, next up on the show, we got the University of Indiana taking on UCLA. Hey, guys, make sure you hit that like button and hit that subscribe button on Tim Reynolds Show. And we see the Indiana Hoosiers came out balling in this matchup, as they were able to get the victory in this one 42-13, really cementing themselves as a contender, it looks like, as they are now 3-0 heading into Big Ten play, as their quarterback Roker had 307 yards and 4 touchdowns in this matchup to help the Indiana Hoosiers get the big win. Next up, we have the University of Air Force taking on Baylor University. Now, in this matchup, man, Baylor was able to dominate, scoring 17 points in the third quarter to pull away 31-3 to get the victory over Air Force, as Baylor makes another statement win, moving to 2-1 on the season, but 2-0 in their conference. Next up, we have the University of Colorado taking on Colorado State, and after a big rivalry game from last year, a really good back-and-forth game, we didn't have the same in this one, as the Colorado was able to take care of Colorado State Rams very easily in this one, as the Buffaloes win 28-9 in this particular matchup, with Shedeur Sanders throwing for 310 yards and 4 touchdowns to help Colorado get this win. And let's not forget about Travis Hunter, who had 13 catches for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns in this game, and shut down the other team's receiver as the cornerback on defense as well. Have to make sure we note that out, guys. And then next up, we got Eastern Illinois taking on Northwestern. A really, really good matchup in this one, as Northwestern was able to pull away with the victory 31-7, and they go ahead and dominate this matchup to get the victory. And then next, we got the Battle of Florida Supremacy. That's right, as Florida International Panthers take on the Florida Atlantic Owls, and the Owls were able to pull away at home as they were able to get the victory 38-20 over their rivals there in the state of Florida. A really, really good matchup, as we've seen Mobley, the running back for the Owls there, gets 20 carries for 134 yards and 3 touchdowns in this game, after the quarterback Jenkins for the FIU Panthers really balled out with 281 yards passing and 3 touchdowns through the air. But unfortunately, he also had 3 interceptions, and those turnovers would prove to be costly in this matchup. Thank you, guys, man. We got like 7 people. We had almost like 14 in the chat just a second ago. Thank you guys so much for checking out Tim Reynolds Show. Make sure you guys hit that like button. Appreciate you all joining me. We're just going over all the college football games before we get ready for some NFL football coming up in, oh boy, about 45 minutes, folks. So our next matchup, guys, we got the University of Maryland taking on Virginia Cavaliers, and we see the Cavaliers not show up in this one like you would expect to at home, as Maryland takes care of business 27-13 to get the victory over the University of Virginia in that matchup. Then the next one, guys, we got Rice University taking on the University of Houston, as Houston was able to take care of their state rival, and they will win this one 33-7 in this matchup. A very, very good showing there for the University of Houston. And then next up, guys, we have BYU University taking on University of Wyoming. And man, Wyoming would not show up in this one as the BYU stays undefeated on the season as they win this one 34-14 to get the victory in this one after Retzenloff, the quarterback for BYU there, has 291 yards and 3 TDs passing in this game, but also had 6 carries for 62 yards on the ground to help BYU get the victory in that one. And then next up, guys, we got San Diego State taking on the University of Cal Bears, and California was able to get the victory in this one to go to 3-0 on the season as they win 31-10 over the San Diego State Aztecs. A really good game from Mendoza, their quarterback there for Cal University, and he has 198 yards and 2 passing TDs through the air, and also their running back Thomas had 17 carries for 169 yards in this game. And then next up, but final, guys, for the weekend, New Mexico State taking on Fresno State as Fresno State gets the huge blowout victory in this one, 48-0, as they really dominate in this one to get the victory. And that's been your Week 3 college football slate and review right here on Tim Reynolds Show. Thank you guys so much for checking out the channel and spending some time with us going over these football notes. Make sure you guys hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and check out Tim Reynolds Show for more college football, NFL football content. You're going to find news and updates and breaking news. Make sure you check out the shorts for that as well. And on the channel, you'll also see NASCAR race review and WWE show review of Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown and all the premium live events throughout the year. So guys, thank you so much for joining me here and hanging out. Appreciate you guys. Have a great football weekend, a great football Sunday in the NFL, and make sure you like and subscribe to Tim Reynolds Show. Thank you guys so much. Peace out, everybody. Have a great day.